So this is I'm inside Notebook already, and I will go back, but just beginning with the end in mind a little bit, and then also just due to the piece of what I'm going to first show you, these things take a bit of time to generate, and it also requires sharing my audio so that you can hear. I have a whack of other tabs that I want to share throughout the presentation, so I wanted to do this one with the sound very first. So this is a notebook. So to just give you a quick overview of what Notebook is it is a software app. It's actually an experiment from Google right now. So they always do warn us that it may change. There's some talk it could move into Gemini as an added on feature there. But what it is an AI that only works on the documents or the information that you provide to it. So it doesn't go out to the web at all unless you give it web links that you want it to include as source information. It runs only on what you provide for it. So right off the hop, that makes it really unique from other AI models because it's not going out into the World Wide Web and into all the data collection that the big models like ChatGPT and Google Gemini are using. It's only using what you give it. So I was really fortunate to see it demonstrated by some people from Google in person, able to ask them a bunch of questions about it. It has huge potential for student use as well because of the nature. So I'm really excited. And so the coolest thing, like I say, I want to start with that, and then I will take you right to back to the beginning again, is when you give it some source information. So you can put up to 50 sources into a notebook. This one here, I just have two, one of which is our new software AP. And the other is the list of approved software as it stands right now. It's incomplete as well, but just to demonstrate really quickly this one piece. So when you create a notebook and you give it some sources, one of the features within it is that it will create what it calls an audio overview. So when you put sources in, this audio overview can actually take like quite some time to process, like a half an hour if you've got a lot of documents for it to be going through. So that's why I have this one here preloaded. So even when you come back to a notebook, sometimes these audio files can take a bit of time to load because it is a high quality MP3. And I'm just gonna play it so you can see what these AI people have to say about our software. We're not going to listen to
All
the
right,
whole
everyone,
11
welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that might seem a bit dry at first, but trust me, it's super important.
Oh, yeah. This one has real-world consequences.
Exactly. We're talking about software, specifically how Wetaskiwin Regional Public Schools, that's WRPS, handles all things software, subscriptions, licenses, the whole shebang.
All laid out in their Administrative Procedure 191.
Yep, Administrative Procedure 191. That's our text for today. And while procedure documents might not be the most thrilling reads, this one could actually save you a major headache. Maybe even save your school some serious cash.
Absolutely. It's all about avoiding those pitfalls.
So if you're involved with WRPS in any way, especially if you're working directly with software or making purchasing decisions, you'll definitely want to pay close attention.
Think of it like...
So as I said, we're not going to listen to the whole 11 minutes. It's incredibly well done for AI voices. I'm going to date myself. I grew up in the age of the speak and spell with some of the first robotic computer generated voices, and even as ahead of the game as I feel with technology, I was really blown away when I listened to this. They joke. They make fun of document titles. If you put something in that's called an untitled document, they will banter and joke about that. Also, though, a really useful way to take a whole ton of written information and put it into a completely unique audio format, which can be exported as an MP3 and then used elsewhere. And then there's an option here too if you want to change the speed rate within Notebook. So I wanted to start with that first, like I said, because I'm going to need to stop sharing here and then flip around. do this. And we're back. So this, I'll just talk a little bit about this overview here before jumping back to the other screen, since we're looking at a notebook right now. So this is a notebook guide. So within NotebookLM, you can have multiple notebooks. It's basically like a binder for a whole bunch of digital information. You can put in PDFs. It has the option to put in, I'll actually just open. So the different sources that it currently accepts. You can go right into your Google Drive and pull a Google Doc or a Google Slides from there. I have some examples of these things created where I've already linked them and run some of the different processes, so I could show you examples quickly. You can, as I mentioned earlier, you can link in a website. So that's just pasting a URL in, and you can actually even link specifically in a YouTube video. Understanding that the YouTube, what it does with the YouTube video is goes to the transcript. So, it's not physically watching or going through the video content. At this point in time, its capabilities are just that it's able to go and read a YouTube transcript and then pull it in as information that then you can further work with in that digital notebook. And you can just copy and paste some text right into and create that as a source as well. So lots of ways that you can bring things in. I'd love to see Google Sheets in here. That was some of the things I was trying to work with when I was playing around. As I mentioned already, also it is considered a Google experiment. So they're working on it all of the time. Definitely could see it change. It's been around for actually a couple of years when it first started testing in beta, and they've just been building and adding to it as it goes along. So it's a really cool way to play around with the functionality of AI within, that limited documents. And I've found some cool ways that definitely teachers can use it. So just looking at, I'm going to switch over here. So you should be seeing my tab. I just actually borrowed some slides directly from the Google presentation that I attended, just to give you a little bit of a piece about AI and Google. And so this was their information about how, they are an industry pioneer in AI. Of course, you have heard of ChatGPT. Also, OpenAI would be the other big front runner in the world of AI these days. That just Google's AI goes back even further if we're talking about the very first simple basic things like predicting speech and emails, being able to know that you want to use a word again that you use all of the time. That was sort of the first beginnings of what we see now. Keep moving along. So yeah, just again showing that they've been building through machine learning and artificial intelligence towards generative AI, which is really what we're talking about today. And this is Google's principles about AI, which we don't need to talk about either. This one. Again, talking just this is Google's take on it. We know AI has the ability to save time. They also will show ways that we can make learning more personal. There's AI tools out there too. I will touch on Brisk and Magic School because those are ones people are asking about all the time, and we've been looking to just regarding third-party software as well. So this, what Google says here, applies to any kind of AI that's going to help you differentiate things for your students, create content for you so that you can focus your time directly on your students, and all of those benefits that you wouldn't be here if you didn't already know that there was definitely these benefits to AI. This piece is a piece to highlight, and why you will see me doing sessions on Google Gemini and talking about the Google specific piece, because we sign up for Google domain, of course, with our email addresses is just that like opening entry into the Google Workspace domain. We're in Google Workspace for education, which means there's special rules, one of which being they do not use anything that we put into their AI to train their models. So Notebook, you're not training anything. It's your own little AI model because you're putting information in there. But with Gemini, when you prompt it or you're having conversations with the chatbots, if you're using a consumer Google account, everything you enter into that box is being taken by the Google AI and used to further train it. In our education domain, excuse me, that's not happening. So you'll actually see that if you've already jumped into Gemini, you'll actually see that right at the bottom. Oh, see, that's funny. It's not appearing for me now. Right at the bottom of your Gemini screen when you log in, you should see that little disclaimer that says when you're using Gemini with your workspace account, it's not being used to train the AI models. This would include for students if at some point we move towards having it open. Google is giving us a way to do that as well. So on November 12th, I believe they launched Google Gemini for teens. So and what this means when we, again, with our education accounts, when we tag people as students within our domain, they're automatically marked as under 18. You can see that the Google people, this was an American presentation from the example. So anyone, students, even if they are over 18 in our division, we do not go to the trouble of figuring out which of our graded high school students might be that age. Everybody's just automatically marked under 18. So that's where some just extra securities and protections come into place on those student accounts. And so with Gemini, if we were to open it for students 13 plus, so we definitely would be looking, just at that grade 9 plus. That's Google's rules. It would behave differently for students. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about this, but you can see the example here that Google shared with us, where, if they were questioning Gemini about alcohol, it would remind them that they're not of the legal age. He explained it would also track behavior or conversations around suicide or self-harm. Students would be offered 1-800 numbers, support. And then within our domain, there's also the piece where we can have, notifications set up at the administrative level, so that it would be brought to our attention if students were doing these kinds of things within Gemini in the domain. So that's a down the road thing that I'm excited about. I'd like to look at a world where we would be teaching students responsible use, because the reality is this is a tool that they are definitely going to live and work with in their adult lives. At this point in time, we have no way to anticipate what the world of generative AI might look like by the time our students are in the adult working world. We just know it's going to be bigger and more. And there's all kinds of ethical guidelines around it. And then also just smart and good use, prompt engineering, how to get AI to give you what you need or what you're looking for is a huge piece in that student education as well. So that's a little bit about Google. I don't think I'm going to go through any more of their presentation. I'm going to go right back to the beginning of NotebookLM. So you can access by going to notebooklm.google.com. All of the Google apps follow that URL convention. So mail.google.com, drive.google.com. And of course, you can just do a plain old search and it'll pop up right at the top of the search as well. When you first go there, it actually just brings you to an introductory screen because it is an experiment. And then you have to just click on the Try Notebook Now button to get into the interface. So once you're in Notebook, you can see here that I've been playing around with a variety of different things. And I don't have the chat open, but I'm going to open that right now, because I thought I had seen short story out of the corner of my eye. And I have. You'll see a short story example in my notebooks here, which is pretty will be perfect. I might as well just open that one first. So in this case, I found a PDF. I just honestly, my brain pulled this short story up from my own high school experience while I was prepping for the session and looking for things. And I was able to find a PDF of it online that was easily downloadable. So you can't access PDFs that are in your Google Drive through this yet. You would have to download them and upload them. There's that extra step. Google may always add that, but right now it's only going to let you find docs or slides within your Google Drive as sources. As I said, you can have, so your sources appear here on the left. You can have up to 50 different sources in here, and you can also toggle them. So you can choose to be interacting with all of your sources, or you could choose to have your interactions that you're creating with the chat happen with just one of them. So I found a YouTube video also of it's a very old video rendition of it as well. So I linked that in with the YouTube option. If you link in a YouTube video and it turns red and says the content is unavailable, that means there's not a transcript behind it. I actually tried to pull in some Google videos about Notebook, and they were all coming up with no transcript. So it's also possible that that's a setting. So depending that the um, Oh, Billy's loading APs. Billy, I loaded all the APs last night. I'll share one with you. So sorry, I should maybe not have the chat open because I'm going to get distracted. Though I actually love the interaction. It's great to have you guys interacting. I don't want to just talk at you. It's really cool. So here's some examples with the story. And so I'll just open this up. Some of these would be like, I definitely would have clicked, I'm sure, study guide here, maybe not. So these defaults are just what Notebook has within them, but you can, within the chat space, ask it to make anything. Like I could say, create an exam with, let's go 15 because I don't want it to take too long. Please, if you want me to put anything in that bar, pop it in the chat. I'd be happy to see what it can do. So this is where we're using this as a chat bot with the documents that we provided. I've asked it to create an exam with 15 multiple choice questions and an essay question with 3 options. And that's not a small task. So you can see that it took some time, but now it has popped up. So this is the chat with the Notebook. So I can copy, and I can give you the tip right now that this copy and pastes into a Google document nicer from the chat right here, right now. They give you a copy button at the bottom so that you can just copy the whole text. And then this comes out without these, because what these are is actual specific references to the documentation. So as it generates any kinds of content for you, whether you're interacting down here in the chat or you've clicked the FAQ or the study guide button on the notebook guide, it will reference your sources wherever it can. So as you can see, as I hover over these little numbers, it actually shows me where, and if I click, it will open the source and highlight where it's pulling that information from. So that's really handy. And again, where I think, and this would be really incredible to be able to open up so teachers could share notebooks with students and didn't have to, copy and paste this out into a format to share with them. So this is the chat here. I'm just going to close that out again. So that was that answer to the create a test for me now. So if I'm just, like I said, I can copy this out into a Google document. I could also just click Save to Note. And what that's going to do is add that into all of the notes that are now attached to this notebook. So these live here. If I come back to NotebookLM and open up my Rocking Horse Winter notebook, all of these notes are going to be here. But you can see in the notes that what was the references and the little links within the chat window, those are actually recorded here in the note. So if you have it make a test for you and you save it as a note, you don't copy it out of the chat. When you do it, it'll have these little references in it. If in the chat, copied and pasted into a Google document, it does not include those numbers at all. It just pastes the text without the references. So that's just a tip that if it does create something great for you when you're in the chat. So this history is not saved. This chat conversation is each time you come into this notebook. So again, if you have it create something for you here, you're going to want to copy and paste that out into something. Save it as a note if you want those references to stay intact, and then it'll always be there when you come back. Notes can be converted to close the chat. Notes can be converted to source. So if you have something that the system's created for you that you think should actually be added into the source information, so then it's also searchable and a part of your conversations with the chat, you can certainly do that. So within the notebook guide, again, these options are always static. The timeline one definitely works if you feed it something like a whole bunch of meeting agendas. And something that's dated. Otherwise, you just get a warning message that it can't create a timeline. So even if we're talking like in this case, actually, I'll click it. I believe I'm not going to say anything till I see what it makes because AI can be unpredictable. And I'm thinking it's going to say it can't do it because it's not dated material. But actually, I'm incorrect because it did find a timeline of events. So it recognized that in a narrative, which is really cool. In the example of the administrative procedures, those it did not find a timeline in because those don't have, even though they are dated at the bottom, it did not even use those to order them. It just said it wasn't available. So those are the default things. But really what you can have it make by popping some things into the chat is basically unlimited, and being able to just take a whole, like I'll actually go back and open the this one. So that was something when I was in the session with Tom, some of the use cases that people brought up within the meeting that I was at, it was business and their boards and whatever. So they were talking about meeting agendas or minutes and how you've got like 20 years worth, and being able to search, when was this motion made? When did we sign up for that? What years was this person a trustee for, or whatever, all of that information. So that led me down the AP route. And so I just took off our website our administrative procedures because of the 50 document limit. I had to I combined them all into one single PDF. So this is I think like 100-page maybe PDF. There was quite a number of them there, and I'm not sure if if all of the newest ones had been posted, but that's where I got. And then as you can see, like I ran a few of those operations and seeing what it could do with just what's within the notebook guide. And then I think I clicked on some of these too. So that's another thing in addition to the different types of content, written content it'll create here. It always does a summary of whatever you've put in for documents. If you add new documents, all you just hit a refresh and this summary will update to include the new documents that you've added. And then it gives you suggested questions for that content also over on the side here. So if you click any of these, sure, why not? It will ask that question for you in the chat, and you'll get that chat generated response that then you can choose to turn into a note or choose to copy and paste out somewhere else or read and discard too. They give you this option at the bottom to flag responses as good and bad. So that's going to tell the notebook system whether it did a good job just generically. Again, keeping in mind that this isn't taking this outside. None of your content is being used to train larger AI models, which is really, really cool. And then, so within this too, we could even just do a search, like which AP talks about this, or what are the rules around. Um, I can't even think of an AP off the top of my head, which is crazy when I looked at them all, but you get what I'm saying. Really simple. I'm surprised I talked about it as long as I did. I hope that you're checking out some things and uploading. I'm gonna just go back to my main screen, and if there's anything here specifically that you see the name of in your, I don't know, do I have any science stuff here? So this one I will open actually, because this was a slides presentation. I was curious to see what it would do. So this is a session that I attended as a teacher. I guess tip, you go to conferences, sometimes the slides presentations, you can actually grab a hold of those even if you're not able to attend all of the presentations in a time slot. So you could pop a slides presentation from a session that you were at or not able to attend in here. And then again, I think it looks like I had it this would be a study guide. So let's put some questions, and there's an answer key. It's giving me some essay questions about the slideshow if I wanted to really learn about it. And then again, I can come here to the summary and start, I could build a briefing doc to learn a little bit more. Don't think I did an audio for this one. Oh, I did do an audio for this one. So it did the same thing and made that MP3 podcast type style conversation about it. Oh, there's the briefing doc. So these all pop up automatically as notes. So that would be the biggest kind of learning piece between this, is if you click one of these buttons, it's automatically going to create a new note. If you use the chat and ask it for something different or more specific, you're going to need to copy and paste that out or save the note. With the chat, just as with any conversational AI, excuse me, you can continue the conversation. So you could ask it to make that exam, and then you could read through it and then, ask for refinements or ask it to change things. The more detail that you give to any kind of AI, the better results that you're going to get back. That's where really prompt engineering is the biggest piece, in knowing what to put in. And that's a piece that we're going to want to teach students at some point too. So unless anybody wants to have a peek at any of these specifically, I can just speak generally to, this was the grade. This is the pardon me, the rubric for scoring the grade 9 ELA PAT, which, well, I mean, honestly, grade 3, 6, and 9, those rubrics were massive in my memory working with them. And so I thought of that right away. And so one thing I did, I put it in here and asked, let's see what I did. So I did the FAQ. I asked it to come up with some prompts. So, that it talks about functional writing and then narrative or essay writing in the second piece. So I asked it to come up with 5 essay prompts, 5 narrative prompts, 5 prompts for the business letter. And then these, what I asked it to do is to create a series of lessons based on, as it's just the 2 different parts of the rubric. So that's actually without providing it any other guidance, just the scoring rubric for the grade 9 PAT. And I was able to get some, definitely, I would say, scaffolding, something to build, a foundation to build on in just a few seconds by prompting it with that. If I was to start adding in things like, exemplars to this would just become more powerful. And on that note, that's a perfect segue actually over to Google Gemini. So one of that same, I'm going to open my sidebar here. That same, if I could, oh, there it is. That same content from the grade 9 rubric, I copied and pasted into Google Gemini. So now we're in Google Gemini. This is Google's ChatGPT. It was initially called Bard, and it wasn't very smart when it was Bard. It took a lot of flack in the beginning. I watched a video last night where they talked about basically how they rate the effectiveness of AI, and Google's most recent model, which you won't be getting when you're on Gemini. But I will actually show you how you can access that if you really want to nerd out with AI towards the end of the session today. So Gemini is Google's ChatGPT. With our education accounts, we get access to the free version. Again, here's that. I don't know if I can get this to zoom nicely for me. There's that disclaimer at the bottom, letting us know that our WRPCast accounts are not being used to train these models. And there's a premium version of Gemini too. I won't even get started about that. It's really amazing, and it works all across all the Google apps. So that's where that you could actually analyze spreadsheet data. Would be amazing. But with this, Gemini is a generator. You can get text out of it. You can get images out of it as well. So Google's image generator is called Imagine, but it functions through Gemini. So with that potential use for a teen version, creating original images is a really powerful use of AI as well. And that's something that Gemini does on its own. So I digress. So you can see I copied and pasted, and this is copying and pasting out of a PDF, right? So it was not pretty. But this, and asked it to simplify it down, focusing on key criteria and putting it into student-friendly language. So this is what it did for me. So as you can see, it does actually have the ability to create charts. If you ask it to put it into a chart format, it will. And I think this little button that I just can't quite see here is export to Google Sheets. So if I ask Google Gemini to create something for me in a chart format, it will give me the option to export that directly out as a Google Sheets, which is handy. I have not looked and read this and evaluated it against that rubric to see if it did a really great job, or if this has maybe been brought down a little bit too much. There's a lot of stuff in the actual rubric, and then it's giving you some little tips and pointers here at the end of that as well. So with Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever your AI poison may be, as I've already mentioned quite a few times, it really comes down to prompting and what you're putting in there. And I should mention that was in when I blew up right after talking about it not training our models, is always remembering that AI is very capable of creating completely fictional content for you. What it was designed to do was answer what you've asked of it. When it can't find the answer, it doesn't know how not to answer you. So it will just make stuff up. That's something that they highlighted that within the teen version of Gemini, it was going to be really prominent, always like at the top in their faces, to remember that AI can make mistakes, essentially. So you will really often see that disclaimer at the end of something. And then they also put at the bottom of every response this little Google button here. So again, we can give it a thumbs up. We can let it know how it's doing. But if you hit the Google button, that will actually Google search. It's going to give me a couple of options. So it's going to pop up here and say, and then it's going to actually pull and do a Google search. I could go back up. Now this wouldn't be a good example for that. Anyways, but if I was a student using Gemini, or I was using it to pull some kind of facts, that Google search is going to go out and fact check the AI for you. And actually in the student version, it does this, it highlights everything and to show students, and it has clickable references and will provide links and everything. So it's getting smarter. AI is learning how to attribute itself and show you where it's finding the things that it's coming up with, and even giving you links out. So I'm just, again, to save time, I did a few different examples ahead. And so I've been mentioning how important detailed and specific and descriptive prompts are, and then I show examples like this that's not detailed and very specific. But again, just in the interests of time, I pumped in a really simple prompt, and I really like right away we're getting this, hey, this don't, because I mentioned a diagnosis in the here, it's right away saying, hey, for medical advice, consult a professional. So even as an adult, I'm getting that, hey, this isn't a medical diagnosis. And then you can see this is, at a glance, pretty decent foundation to start building something from. So we're not going to have AI do everything for us, but being able to start from a place or having it provide an exemplar is a really helpful way to just level up our own work, eventually hopefully help level up students' work as well. And then save time, because as I said, if the more time that you can save doing administrative tasks or creating things for students, that's more time that you can actually spend on your students. I mentioned exemplars, and I thought I had an example in here. I might have erased it. So that's one I'm going to do right now. So I mentioned Magic School AI, Brisk AI are on our radar. We've had requests to look into them. AI is a bigger world than just doing software requests. So there is, an admin procedure being developed just to talk about AI uses and put some sort of guidelines around that for all of us. So as we're moving forward, the next piece will be looking into um, what's out there, what can we potentially purchase at some point, maybe for our teachers to help make their lives easier. And so we're at the stage now where we're definitely, if you've been in education with us for a long time, we wade slowly in, especially when it comes to technology and things, and we just want to make sure that we know what we're doing. We want to try to stay ahead of all the changes and things that are going on, and at the end of the day, make the best decision for our students. So we're definitely looking into Google Gemini. As you know, there's the free version that I'm showing you, and we all have access to. We know now we have a space where there is a safe way to use that with our 13 plus students potentially. And then beyond that, there is looking at what that paid model looks like and what extra features come with it. So one of the things that I particularly want to investigate personally is the way that it functions in Google Classroom. So there's a whole bunch of ways that Gemini can be used in Google Classroom, like to create that test that you watched me do a notebook with upgraded Gemini. It actually makes it in a Google form for you. You can have it create slides, presentations, and do all kinds of things. So Google Gemini is one that we're looking at. And then, as I say, we're also looking at both Brisk and Magic School, and that comes from our teachers and what they're using. So these are definitely top of all of the teacher social media. The sales people are out in force, handing out free trials and courting our teachers. So we're aware, we definitely see the value. And when I was doing my practice prompts today for Gemini, I was toggling into Brisk and Magic School, having a bit of look at what they have for tools, because if you were at my session in the spring or you've ever had a chat with me about some of these things, I will tell you that Magic School is an amazing overlay over some other powerful AIs. The best ones will access Google and ChatGPT when they're building things, because those are the two biggest and best. And of course, if you're getting from both, you're going to get even better content. But they really are prompt generators. someone has gone and done that extra work for you of creating the detailed prompts so that when you click on, um, my example was up here in the free stuff, exemplars and non-exemplars. I saw this as a tool. Well, let's see what Google Gemini does if I get that. So just kind of getting the ideas from Magic School, and it does not a bad job. So we're going to do an exemplar and non. So definitely, and there we go. Now we're getting an example of some of those links. So this is, I have not seen ChatGPT do this, and I will fully profess that I use ChatGPT. I have a personal account. I even pay to upgrade so that, and I've done some dabbling in building them. So I'm a little bit less familiar with Gemini as well. But I would say right off the hop, I know this right here, pulling up links where it's getting that information from is very useful. And it helps do that piece of fact checking for you. And it just gives you a bit of peace of mind knowing where things are coming from. And I mean, especially when we're working with students, there is nothing linked under the non-exemplar. So there's just that one example from here. So that's where we'll be, sort of looking at the benefits of these. We'll probably be doing some pilots. I not 100% sure what all of this is going to look like just yet. They're like the AP is close to being finalized, at which point then we'll have some move forward. So going to be looking into the value in all three. One of our, Google definitely speaks to us, especially because of the domain and the extra administrative controls that we have, as well as the tracking and whatever. But we will be evaluating and looking at how we can support teachers and make sure that we provide people with the tools that are going to help make their lives a little bit easier, we hope. And on that note, it's 3. I've been talking at you for 45 minutes, or you already have uploaded your next quarter's worth of stuff and are working on content, I hope. Is that's really the hope in sharing any of this stuff with you, is that there's even just one little tip that you can walk away with and be happy to take forward and explore. That's a really good thing. I know everybody needs time. I'm going to continue to look at, I'm actually going to, this is where I think I said in my session description that I may go on to look at some sort of different things that are coming and more of that, the things that scare some people and excite others, and maybe a little bit of both in the world of AI. Feel free to continue to watch along, or if you're busy already diving into Notebook or Gemini and seeing if you can create yourself some content to use next week, you're welcome to do that too. I'm going to jump just tab to tab for as much time. Does anybody have any questions before we get extra nerdy? So the first place we're stopping is Google DeepMind. So that's good. That's the big whole overall thing in Google generative AI. So right up front and center, you can see they're showing off their new generative video model. So these videos that they're showcasing were all completely generated by a computer. So this is, we've been creating video with computers for a long time. People on computers doing CGI and adding in fantastic beasts and whatever else. But now we have the ability to actually just like punch in some instructions and for the computer program to just completely build and make that whole video content. So that is coming. It's not showed here, but Google Vids is something that's going to come to us in Google Drive. It's a basic video editor to start, and then it is going to have those AI video creation abilities as well. So I keep watching because they say it's slowly rolling out to school division. So I check almost every day to see if we have it yet, because I'm really excited to check it out. It even just the video editing piece could be really impactful for us, but it's not here yet for us, but I will keep watching for that. And then just some other things that's going on in the Google DeepMind world. I spend a little bit too much time checking out what this large scale foundation world model was. I'm trying to understand it. Basically, Google has made a way for anyone to create a 3D space in any place on the planet to create like a virtual world. And they're talking about using it to train agents, which I thought was interesting. It all looked really actually video gamey to me. And again, computers can now build those worlds. Like our kids are playing in these like amazing Fortnite worlds, right? That there's software engineers out there coding and building. And now they've built computer programs that can actually just create that 3D physical world that would take like thousands of hours, I think, of people programming. So that's a huge project they're working on. I don't know if Stacy's still here. There's something about this one, AlphaFold again. I couldn't possibly understand this because it's not my area, but they've basically got an AI that has built millions of protein models, and now that can be used in like medicine and understanding our world around us and how different environmental factors might interact with the proteins and the different species around the world. So just like I said, this is going to get beyond the classroom. So if you head over to DeepMind and start scrolling, you can quickly get lost in all of the things that are going on. And these are just some of the projects that they're working on. Synth ID is a cool one because it actually puts an invisible watermark on anything that's generated through it. So it's an AI generation, but it's kind of copywriting its stuff. So it puts something in there that you can't see, but a computer will detect and know immediately that that content was created by AI. So this is like coming from Google, right? The idea for sure that's going to be rolling into the space where I would anticipate eventually it becomes, you can find out if a student, if AI touched this, because there's these invisible coding things going on in the background. So, and then I mentioned Imagen earlier. That's their image creation model. So this is where we can just start a new chat here. I haven't played a whole lot with a Gemini image creator. I use Chat GPTs a lot. It's really good, and that's not bad. So again, just on a quick short thought, I can have it create an image for me, and this is, royalty free. The AI just made it for me, so I can use this wherever I like and not have to worry about any copyrights. 305. I have a few more tabs. Check out Google DeepMind if you want to see what they have coming. I'm going to let people know on Google Bids. So this is the Google AI Studio. This is where you can play with the most advanced version of Google AI. Now, when you're accessing, or should I say Gemini, when you're accessing Gemini, you're in an app that's essentially going into this developer. So Google often makes their stuff free and wants other people to be creating things with it. So I'm with the AI as well. Their AI Studio is free to use, and this is a space where it functions. So this, you can see where Notebook Notebook and this interface is a little bit more similar. So this we can add videos to and PDFs. However, there is like a coding piece involved because when you come in here, you're building your own bot essentially. And then if you're familiar with ChatGPT and how you can use their model to build GPTs, Google actually does have that too. They're called Google Gems. They happen right within Gemini, but they are also attached to a paid license. So you'd have to be signed up for that to be able to do those. So anyways, if like I said, we're getting into like beyond me. I looked at this and thought, oh, someday I'll have time to learn how to use that. It looks really cool. Over here is the Google experiment. So I mentioned, as you can see, NotebookLM is a Google experiment. We really hope will roll into a permanent Google thing. If the more of us that are using it and making good use, the higher likelihood that it sticks on. And it is really popular. I mean, Google is presenting about it themselves too. So I don't really see it going anywhere except potentially over to Gemini officially at some point as an added on piece to that. But they have some other cool experiments that they're working on too. And this is all in their world of AI. And so there's some complex things, some other video FX generators. And I wanted to get all the way to the bottom. So there was something. We can be creating some music. So if you need to make a soundtrack for a video and you don't want there to be any copyright, you could check out this Google Lab on Music FX. Create yourself your own MP3. And then if you want to create your own chess pieces and play a game, they have something simpler. Look at this alphabet creator. They have a whole app that'll just create you unique looking alphabets. So whether you want to play big or just play small, there are some cool things going on in the Google Labs as well. Always on their workspace updates is a kind of a good place to check things out. Google has blogs on every topic, and including education. So, following some of the Google education blogs can help you stay on top of what they're rolling out for teachers and what's new in things like Google Classroom. And it's getting really noisy here. And so, I'm doing very well. Last two things, not Google at all, but also AI, and just drawing your attention to. So this is Adobe Express. It's an online, really basic photo editing software that Adobe offers for free. And they do also have image generation. So we can make images in Adobe Express. And in fact, students can access Adobe Express as well. So this is online. Sign in with Google and you should be good to go. And then my last, and this is always my standby favorite, Canva. Not only great for creating all your things and finding templates that other people have used, they have a whack of AI apps enabled within as well. So I used there was some talking heads. I used one. So these guys right here. I mean, you can only do a couple of presentations with a fake talking head for free, and they are just the tiniest bit creepy. But it was kind of neat. DALL-E, that's OpenAI, that's ChatGPT's image generator. So it's really amazing, and that can be accessed through Canva. And Google's image generators here too. And as you can see, a whole ton of other things. So Canva's one of the places that you can go and say, create me a presentation on this topic. It will not find content for you, but it will lay out a series of slides with different layouts and formats and placeholders for you to put the appropriate content in. It does a little bit better job. You won't get like the Latin language. It will put in some really generic statements about whatever content you've asked it to build a slideshow about, but a whole bunch of different ways there too. And then just within, when you're creating, you can ask it to create images. You can ask it to help you with your text or do writing for you. And then that's something that we all have access to also. And with that, I'm going to stop talking. have a sip of water. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to type in the chat. Mute. I'll stop sharing. Well, then I would say I'm also going to stop recording. Thank you so much for joining me.